this point, Caitlin Clark is getting hurt damn near every week, and it's looking intentional. At least that's what it's looking like from this footage that was released today. There was new footage that has come out of potentially, I'm gonna say allegedly, Jacy Sheldon kneeing Caitlin Clark in the groin. Yes, kneeing her in the groin.
Someone just removed the woman who was carrying the WNBA on her own shoulders, who obviously has unresolved business. After her eye-catching antics during their last encounter, Jacy Sheldon has now been seen striking Caitlin Clark in the crotch with a knee, leaving the biggest star staggered off the court, sobbing uncontrollably. And you know what? No review, no foul call, and no repercussions.
Why is it a problem that Caitlin Clark is calling out this referee? God forbid she finally stands up for herself. I mean, these WNBA refs are garbage, and they've been letting her get absolutely mugged on a nightly basis. Matter of fact, one of the players last night on the Connecticut Sun, or whatever they're called, literally targeted her groin.
Jacy Sheldon has used cheap shots against Clark before. When they first met, in the third quarter, Sheldon poked Clark right in the eye. The eye poke was so obvious that it was impossible for even the most forgiving onlookers to pretend it was an accident. Clark confronted Sheldon right away regarding the filthy play. However, Sheldon intensified the conflict by bumping Clark rather than giving up. It resulted in Marina Mabrey pushing Clark from behind to the ground.
It looked like Caitlin Clark looked like she got a little hurt towards the end there. Is there any update on her injury?
No update. Just felt a little something in her groin, so we'll get it evaluated and see what happens from there.
Yeah, just kind of to follow up on that. Looked like she was kind of grabbing at her right groin area. Is that the concern?
Yeah, that's the one she was grabbing at. I don't know which one it was, but yeah, I mean, that's it.
Following the incident, Sheldon was fined a pitiful $2,000 $2,000 for purposefully poking someone in the eye. That should discourage professionals because it's less than what most individuals pay for a good laptop. Athletes from purposefully hurting the league's face. You must be joking with me.
The situation at the end of the game was all that, was what ended up injuring Caitlin Clark. Because you guys did not see, first of all, this happened earlier in the game. So Caitlin Clark took a knee to the groin from Jacy Sheldon. And by the way, this is not, I don't even know if this is a dangerous play or not. I don't think it's a dangerous play. I don't think this is a dangerous play from Sheldon, but it's a foul. It is clearly a foul, and obviously this is called as a no call. This is called as a no call. I don't know. Jacy Sheldon here sticking up her leg and hitting Caitlin Clark in the left groin. How is that not a foul?
However, Sheldon returned with a vengeance, suggesting that the smack on the wrist was insufficient as a deterrence. Literally. New footage appears to capture the precise moment when Sheldon delivered during their most recent battle. A knee to Clark's groin. This wasn't a case of unintentional collision while rebounding, or a run-in with a loose ball. This was purposeful, targeted, and utterly repulsive. After taking the hit, Clark attempted to play on but ultimately had to quit the game in tears due to a groin injury. Became unbearable.
Aftermath. So there's a referee standing right there. We all can see. Look, Jacy Sheldon knees CC in the groin. Can you guys see this right here? You guys see that? That is a knee. Jacy Sheldon's knee is all the way fully, her whole leg is fully extended off the ground into Caitlin Clark hand and groin area. You clearly...
For Clark, who had already been suffering with a number of ailments this season, the timing couldn't be worse. She was just getting well after missing 9 games due to different leg problems. However, she is being deliberately targeted rather than being given the opportunity to heal and engage in her favorite activity by guys who don't seem to be as interested in competing as they are in taking her out.
Did you see last night Caitlin Clark holding her groin, digging her head in the stanchion in pain, tears coming to her eyes, all the emotion hitting her at once, whether it's mental exhaustion, frustration with another injury, feeling a pop in the groin, feeling something in the groin that you know isn't...
Please subscribe if you're enjoying it. Here's the worst part. On the play, no foul was called. None. Zero. Zilch. The referees, who have received constant criticism for how they handled Clark's violent play, ignored what was taking place in front of them once more. Colin, Clark's own brother, blamed the officiating on social media, writing, "Make no mistake, this is on the reffing," before removing the post. However, he is entirely correct. The officials have fostered an atmosphere in which players are aware that they may target Clark without repercussions.
This is from Caitlin Clark's brother. Caitlin Clark's brother, as soon as she got injured, tweeted this out. "Make no mistake, this is on the reffing." This is on the reffing. This tweet lasted about 30 minutes. It lasted about 30 minutes. And if we're going to be honest, he's on the money. He is. He's absolutely.
This is systematic negligence, not simply poor officiating. Stephanie White, the coach of Fever, has spoken out against the heinous treatment her squad receives from officials, claiming that our team is currently being treated with a lot of contempt. Unbelievably, she has often criticized the referees for permitting the physical play to become unsafe levels, but her grievances are ignored. The league provides a mechanism for teams to voice complaints regarding officiating, but as White pointed out, "I'm not sure if I sense that the system is effective."
There's a grab right there. There's a hold around her back. She's still kind of holding on to her with her left hand. Then Caitlin passes, and then she gets bumped a couple times, and then they finally call a foul when Quinterly slaps down on Caitlin Clark. So if we want to watch it one more time, watch when she's going to the basket. She gets bumped here, she gets grabbed, and then they finally call the foul when she's going to the basket. This was something that happened throughout the entire game, and I know that a lot of people are like, Caitlin Clark fans are like too over the top with this. Like, she's not getting fouled all the time. She is getting bumped, she is getting grabbed, she is getting hand checked throughout the entire game, and it continues to happen. And I feel like that is the game plan when you play against Caitlin Clark, and the refs still.
The level of frustration has escalated to a boiling point. Clark herself needed to be restrained during their most recent game by team personnel during a furious confrontation with referee Michael Price. She was observed informing the official, "Grow up, stop being so impolite, and stop threatening to call the league on him," when the participant who is bringing your league is receiving unheard of attention and cash, which is telling officials to mature. Perhaps it's time for some serious reflection. However, let's consider the wider picture here. Before Caitlin Clark came along, the WNBA was having trouble. No WNBA game had averaged more than 1 million viewers since 2008 prior to her arrival. It was a half-empty league. Venues, with teams like the Indiana Fever bringing in just 81,000 spectators for their whole 2023 campaign. The league was losing money, attendance was dropping, and television ratings were dismal. Despite enjoying their best season in decades, they are reportedly expected to lose $40 million in 2024.
9 years in Indiana, and now on the staff. I mean, that's a live shot now of Caitlin Clark. He's still upset and wants an explanation from Michael Price. Maybe at the timing of when that happened on Jan.
Yo, I have no clue what dude said, but for her to want to call the league on the ref, what did he say, man?
Everything changed when Clark showed up. With 2.1 million viewers, her WNBA debut was the most watched. Since 2001, her WNBA games have consistently attracted over 1 million viewers, with some reaching as high as 3.2 million. For the first time in years, the Fever sold out their home stadium, and rival teams began to move games to bigger locations in order to meet the demand for Clark's performance. The league established records for attendance. May was the most attended month for the WNBA in more than 20 years, with over 400,000 people attending games. The figures are astounding. An average 1.178 million people watch Clark's games, which is almost 3 times more than the 394,000 spectators for games without her. Ratings decrease by over 50% when she is sidelined due to an injury. With Clark, the Indiana Fever's average attendance is 16,084, while non-Fever attendance is 8,552 games. Teams are earning millions more when Clark visits, and the league recently inked a $2,200 million zero-cent media agreement, primarily due to the attention she has sparked. However, the WNBA doesn't seem to get this point. One person is the foundation of all this achievement. When Clark sustains an injury, the whole deck of cards collapses. Attendance declines, ratings plunge, and all of a sudden everyone remembers what the WNBA was like before to her arrival. The league's failure to safeguard its most prized asset isn't. Simply put, it's incredibly foolish.
Well, Kathy Engelbert and the WNBA, well, they have effed around, and now they're about to find out. The WNBA All-Star Game is, of course, in Indianapolis, the home of the Indiana Fever, the home of Caitlin Clark. And now it looks like Caitlin Clark, most likely, I can't imagine that Caitlin Clark will be participating in the three-point contest. Or,
by now, any other professional sports league would have taken note of this. Star players in the NBA receive calls. They are shielded. There are repercussions when someone uses dirty plays to attack Stephen Curry or LeBron James. Players are suspended, flagrant fouls are evaluated, and fines have real consequences. However, in the WNBA, Jacy Sheldon can give Clark a smack on the wrist, poke her in the eye, and knee her in the crotch before leaving. The league's reaction has been pitiful. Following the poking incident, Sheldon's foul was increased to a blatant one and fined $2,000 for purposefully poking someone in the eye. That's encouragement, not discipline. In essence, it lets players target Clark as long as they're prepared to shell out pocket change. For a professional sportsman, what about the most recent incident? Is a review going to take place? Will Sheldon suffer any repercussions for what seems to be a purposeful knee to the groin? Based on the history of the WNBA, most likely not. The league has often demonstrated that upholding some false sense is more important to them of competitive equilibrium as opposed to defending the athlete who is genuinely preserving their sport.
the officiating's terrible. These players just beat the crap out of... Honestly, it's not just Caitlin Clark. I watched them beat the crap out of other players too. I don't want to hear a physical league. I watched a physical NBA in the 80s and the 90s, the early 2000s. This is different, folks.
The irony is that everyone is harmed by Clark's absence. Other players see their own visibility when she's not playing decline. On average, only 414,000 people watch non-Clark games on television. Attendance at sporting events without the Fever considerably decreases. The whole ecology that Clark has built, including the item sales, sponsorship agreements, when she is ignored by the media, the attention begins to wane. However, it seems that some players would want to bring the league back to obscurity rather than recognize Clark's achievements. Players were paid very little. The league was mainly funded by the NBA, and games were played in front of small crowds because it was unable to make money. Only 4.1 million people watched the 2021 Women's Championship. Games throughout the regular season were difficult. To get in front of 300,000 people, was a pleasant side endeavor, but in terms of public perception, it wasn't a real professional sports league. Interest or financial sustainability.
Y'all are on the internet having a field day making fun of my precious CC, Caitlin Clark. You hear me? She was putting the team on her back. She was giving it all for her team so they can win. She missed several games and hasn't been healthy. She missed 9 games. She haven't been healthy. You hear me? So that tells me a lot about Caitlin Clark, aka my precious CC. She a dog. She got that aura, and she's standing on business, and she ain't self.
That was all altered by Clark and a league in dire need of all three. She brought attention, excitement, and money. On a regular basis, more people watched her collegiate games than the NBA playoffs. Her WNBA debut set new records that stood for many years. Through her participation in women's basketball, she has transformed the sport into appointment television. The sport at a level that even casual spectators might find enjoyable. However, rather of acknowledging and expanding on that achievement, the WNBA has fostered a culture of animosity. Before Clark came along, players who were struggling in obscurity are now making crude remarks against the person who has made them more well-known and financially stable than they have ever been. It's similar to biting the hand that feeds you. However, in this instance, the hand is affixed to the individual who is actually feeding the full league. The repercussions of this lack of vision are already showing. Each time Clark sustains an injury, the league suffers a severe financial setback. Ratings decline, attendance falls, and sponsors begin to doubt their financial commitments. The All-Star Game, which was meant to commemorate the league's recent rise to prominence, is now in danger since the major attraction may not be able to take part. The three-point game, which was intended to highlight Clark's signature ability, might be cancelled due to her ongoing injury, brought on by risky play.
The referees yesterday, they were in a league of their own in terms of incompetence. The last time we saw the Connecticut Sun, you would think that we would have a crew that would set the tone saying, hey, all of this dirty play is not flying today. But when you're in the WNBA and you have not one, not two, but three incompetent officials all at one time, well, beggars can't be choosers.
This cannot be sustained. The WNBA cannot construct a league around a single player and then permit that player to be targeted on a regular basis by adversaries. It's detrimental to everyone, not just Clark. When the biggest star in the league is not playing, everyone is defeated. Attendance declines, television ratings decline, and the decades-long enthusiasm begins to fade. It's not a difficult answer. The WNBA must begin to prioritize player safety, particularly with regard to their most precious resources. Automatic suspensions, not symbolic penalties, should be the consequence of flagrant offenses. Players that participate in risky referees must be held accountable, and play should be subject to severe penalties that truly discourage similar instances in the future, responsible for letting games spiral out of control. However, the league must also recognize what Clark has achieved and safeguard the investment that she stands for. She is not only another participant. The WNBA is still important in 2025 because of her. Television networks are spending billions on media because of her rights. Fans are attending games and purchasing stuff because of her, treating her in the same manner as any other player. Not only is it incorrect, but it's also financial suicide.